Hello everyone, welcome back to the lab and also welcome to a new episode of Road to World 2024 where I will be documenting my journey, my grind of myself competing in a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG and eventually or hopefully make to the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship of 2024. That being said, let's start today's new episode. So YCS Raleigh has been concluded for about a week at this point. If you have watched the previous episode, I definitely complained a lot about this event. And so a lot of people were asking quite frequently, like, what did I do? How did I do? What did I come up with for this last minute ban list and this imaginary format of post ban list, pre-legacy duelist? So let me just straight hop into the deck list I played for Raleigh. So as you see on the screen, this is a pure Snake Eye deck that I piloted. Very similar as what I have been playing in the regionals, like multiple regionals prior to the ban list. Main deck wise, it's nearly the same. The only difference is I cut a cross out to replace for the third copy of Jordan Rockbird. Was the ban list banning Baron and Savage? At the very beginning, my thought was a lot of Snake Eye player will pivot to Fire King variants after the ban list for Raleigh. That hypothesis was true in some degree. A lot of people were using Fire King when they were not. But more after I actually played at Raleigh, I realized it was not 100% true because this format, this ban list, was so urgent that a lot of people couldn't switch. A lot of people ended looking at this list, honestly, even myself included, looking at this ban list change, looking at realizing the ban list was dropped not even 6 days before we had to submit our deck list. Therefore, instead of switching from Savage, like just Synchron Savage Baron into Fire King, which lines are completely different, more people just switch to the more similar version with Siphon Lord Omega and Bestial Dispatter, since the combo lines are nearly the same for just making a level 8 and a level 10 Synchro. And put it and like it kind of serves like similar amount of interruptions at the end board, play around things more similar compared to like completely revamp the whole deck and play Fire Kings. That's also why at the end when I saw top cut for YCS Raleigh, I was a little bit shocked for how much lower the Fire King portion took in the top cut, which immediately told me, yeah, if we had longer time, if the ban list was dropped like even a week or two earlier, maybe a lot more people will be able to get their practice in and make a switch into Fire King or not, and at least will result in more Fire King in the whole room. But at the end, because this list was so last minute, not many people was able to do that. Not many people was feeling confident or comfortable doing that. So, despite everyone belief, like I'll say myself probably not the only one. Despite a good amount of people believe Fire King will be more popular and even prepared for it, like myself adding a third draw into my deck, it was not accurate at the end, and it could backfire some other people. It didn't backfire me. I didn't do well at Raleigh, but not because of this reason. But besides that, it's like the room was more filled more with like pure Snake Eye variants. There are definitely a bit like different in terms of like among all the pures. There is the version using, I think it's called Packbit, the Enigmaster Packbit with Hiso. There's the versions where just completely getting rid of all hand traps and replaced it with ball breakers. and so many other possible variants, right? It would just have to say it again. I hate how Konami released this ban list. I love what's on the ban list, but I hate it how they announced it and when they announcing it. It resulted everyone not having time practice and resulting us have to build counterplays on assumptions, where if the assumptions end is not being accurate, then the counterplays will also obviously not being accurate enough to do well with. So that's pretty much my Raleigh experience. There are definitely also still some things I think I called it right for, I guess, my side deck. Well, let me go through it one by one. So besides that, the main deck are remain pretty much the same. It was just the only difference was just this one slot. I was just moving the third cross out into the side because I don't know. Like, I feel like if hypothetically there were more Fire King, then going second, I should see less copies of Flamber on the field. Therefore, going second, cross out Flamber and play with that should happen less, and that's why I will be fine having less copy of cross out because this card technically is worse against Fire King going second. That wasn't true. I played more mirrors than Fire King, but anyway. And then the extra deck, with Link Cribble being banned, and if you haven't, I did post it, the combo lines. I found out with El Mirage and Parallel Exceed in the previous episode in the Parallel Exceed combo video. So if you haven't really watched that, go give that a look. Essentially, Link Cribble now it's split into two different monsters, being both El Mirage and Anima. If I need the aspect of opening an arrow for me, I can turn any normal summons, pretty much any normal summons, into an El Mirage and then summon Parallel Exceeds underneath it. If I only need my level 1 body, or specifically Poplar, into a monster, and while get the Poplar to the back row for other cards cost, then I can use Anima for it. And there are some bonus facts of both El Mirage and Anima. Anima now, because before playing Anima is just a choice to make, whether worth it or not. Now playing Anima is a mandatory thing. To the point, having Anima make Appaloosa just have significantly negates and significantly easier to out. Because normal summon any monster, force out a negate, turn that level 1 monster, level 1 Snake Eye into an Anima, that force out a second negate. Suddenly Appaloosa is just so much smaller and just can be easily run over and not worry about Link Cribble coming back from the graveyard. So that's something I also realized mid-tournament. It was like, Appaloosa now is a lot more vulnerable than before, but not like I could really do anything to change that. And in other thing regarding El Mirage, I actually won a game because this is El Mirage in my extra deck, not Link Cribble. Because my hand were very bricky. I had a hand of Flamebird, 5 hand traps, that kind of hand. So usually it would just be dead, right? I went second that game. I dropped a nib onto the board, and I had to use all my level 1 hand trap to stop my opponent. I had to use all my hand trap to stop my opponent. And that resulted in me just having like a nib left on the board, a Flamebird left in hand. Top deck, I think I drew into a Bell I sided in because it was post-siding going second. And because I have El Mirage instead of Link Cribble, I was allowed to normal summon my Bell, link into the El Mirage, then because El Mirage is a fire, link the El Mirage with Nib into a Hida. Then my Hida got negated by either an Imperm or Droplet. But that's fine because I purposely put the Nib token in attack on my opponent's board. So I just battle phase crashed the Hida onto the Nib token. to search a popular and then extend it through like after that without actually drawing any engine in my opening hand. So yeah, Omar's definitely has some unique niche factor that even Linkable couldn't provide, and I was glad that this is in my deck. And the rest of them are just standard. The 2 SP, because the second SP is the combined with Banshee is the package for Parallel Exceed, and IP Charmers. Not gonna lie, Dark Charmer feels a lot worse now. Since Anima, unlike Linkable, Anima is a one-time use thing. After Anima being used, there's like no easy accessible Dark monster for me to easily summon Dark. I even thought about cutting it, but we had near no time to test, to have enough games to telling me if that's going to happen, if that's going to backfire me more, or if that's going to be helping me more. So at the end I was like, oh, let me just keep it there, see how it goes. So Dark, despite it was there, this is probably the least summoned extra deck card in my entire extra deck throughout the entire event. And like if I in the future play different version or changing my extra deck, this is probably gonna be one of the first card to go now. Then Princess, obviously, because Linkable's gone, the Hiso Sunlight package it's playable with the help of if you want to commit into like Packbit, but without this, it's very inefficient to summon. All I can do is make like a rank, like treat Hiso as a link 4, make like a random link 2 that's not fired to go into Hiso, or I just completely give up. I end up being like, well, it's probably not worth. It's probably better to just play simpler things and not overcook with stuff. So I just go with standard Saling Appaloosa access, and yeah, having access is also benefiting me from the stun matchup because I can just go IP into access. So yeah, I have been playing this for several regionals prior to the ban list, and yeah, it feels pretty good about it. And then Raging Zelantis Phoenix standard. So the extra deck is just good generic Link monster stuff. Nothing really special, pretty much. The side deck is where I think could be a little bit. There are things that I think it was correct on track. There are also other things might be a bit overcooked. And I guess we'll go through one by one. Agave should be good. However, there are other conditions at the venue at Raleigh made this card almost a blank card in my side deck, which I guess we'll go through it with all my complaints about YCS Raleigh a bit later. Bell is for just more hand traps for the main, for the mirror, and covering voiceless. Fine. Golden Lure, in my opinion, is the best single card against stun because they have nearly absolutely no way to deal with it. However, because I cut like Furnier, I cut Pancratops, I cut Lightning Storm, maybe I should just pump Lord to 3 to keep the amount. That's one of my regret, but I also still didn't have enough time to really test every single matchup, figure out the exact number of everything. So at the end, yeah, if I was given more time, I might even play 3 Golden Lord just for specifically stun. And then the cross out, the talents for going first, these are just because I couldn't find space to ming it, decide to side them, self-explanatory. I guess we'll leave this package a little bit. Talk about something else. Duster, and plus, what I think, the better summon limit, the newer summon limit of post-ban list, Featherstorm. Yeah, it's taking a little bit extra, like, spaces in terms of either extra deck or side deck, but with the Tempite Dragon releasing very soon, a very common way OCG had tried was to run a rank 1. Either Fuchu or Assemble Nightingale. Because both of them block either preventing from dying by battle or preventing damage in some different ways. And that making these will just, if it sits, it will guarantee, it will very likely guarantee not being OTK'd by Tenpai. So these cards has been in my mind for a while. What was the balance drop? Hey, there's even more things. Summon Limit's gone. Maybe we should find a floodgate to replace Summon Limit, right? Anti-spell feels a bit lackluster. There was a specific reason we dropped Anti-spell for Summon Limit at the beginning of last format. Going back to Anti-spell, yeah, you're gonna face those issues again. So I didn't like Anti-spell. It's also at 1 now. Other things be like Strike, not really a big fan. Deck Lockdown is a cool thing, but it's just cool, I think. I also haven't tested much about that one. Skildred was the other card came up in the discussion because I know Christian Arena also used it and even treated it as a tool to cross out from his Runic Stone opponent, which I thought is cool. I also knew about it, but I want to try something different, something under my name. So I went with the more hated Harpy's Featherstorm. There's good side and downside. The downside, it required me to at least be able to play to make this card alive. Because if I absolutely cannot play, at least like the Skildred, the Deck Lockdown, probably like more likely still able to do something, like at least stop my opponent for something, despite I have nothing. But Featherstorm required me to play at least something. So that's the downside. This card could be dead or at least make some opening hand in the wrong situation worse. However, the plus side, in my opinion, is just too good. It's uncounterable. Deck Lockdown, Skildred, they can be Cosmic. Strike, if their hand's good enough, they can just walk into it. Right? Featherstorm, there's no counterplay to it. At the very beginning, I was even playing Assembled, saying like, okay, this was being more played in OCG for post-Legacy due to Tenpai. But one of my friend pointed out, maybe Fucho is better, because Fucho is also quote-unquote nip-proof. Despite, yes, even hypothetically, I did play Assembled. If I get nib, I can still just Flamebird. Fieldspell bring Flamebird back, Flamebird bench the Assemble, then my opponent's turn, Flamebird bring out the Assemble, and then Featherstorm my opponent. That still works, but Fuchu just make me not even worry about those kind of things. The second I summon, it guarantees stay on the board no matter what. And Featherstorm on the other hand is, if my opponent, like if my other cards even able to stop my opponent without even using Featherstorm and it survive till my turn, I can just flip my next turn, block everything my opponent has. All their hand trap, all their potential, like pivot plays and possible things. Let's just say no to them. And that's a guarantee win. And added a little bit bonus fact. Now, I am super immune to flu. Because Parallel Exceeds functions well under Shifter. And their Featherstorm now can be cross-outed by me. So yeah, just to specifically annoying one of our flu friend in our Discord, I decided to go like, yeah, maybe Skildred is another possible pick, but I want to try something my thing. So I went with Featherstorm. Well, let's just say, obviously, every time I resolve this, I win for like, wow, what a surprise. And but added a bonus because Featherstorm, unlike some limit like Skildred, those are continuous. This is a normal trap, so this actually I have more copies technically in the deck in the form of Thrust. I only tossing one Thrust because I don't have enough side spaces and didn't even know what else to play. And also I was like, oh, one Thrust, maybe this can even be across a target against specifically branded. Since branded don't necessarily grab talents of Thrust. They have enough powerful spells for them to grab. So yeah, I'm tossing one Thrust. Now I have 4 copies of Featherstorm in my deck. The second my opponent threw any hand trap, I can just do whatever. That's because this is also setting a trap. It doesn't even care if my opponent summon a monster or not. And I added another duster as my background removal because Featherstorm, if you don't know, has a bonus like second effect. If this card on in the spell trap zone is destroyed by the opponent, I search or add back duster. So this become a tricky thing against Runic Stun, where I would just set the Featherstorm. If they destruction me, which they most likely will do if that's the only set on my field, I get to search my duster. And if I was able to already like trigger things like skill drain, now I can just duster the whole board and OTK them. So that's that become a main form with of my background removal, alongside with obviously Golden Lord. And so that's the small package. And there's like the last two cards, which I kind of regret playing it a little bit. So Release. So this is technically the only ball breaking cards out of my entire deck, but I was, like I mentioned earlier, a bit scared of the potential increased number of Fire Kings. So it's like Hand Trap probably isn't doing as good, especially the negates can be dodged by Kieran in some different ways. Having some copies of Soul Release fine. Why there wasn't 3 Soul Release? Because the third copy of Soul Release is just in the form of talent. Thrust. So technically I still have 3 copies of it. It should be enough, right? That's an oversight at the end. After played against few Fire King players in the tournament, I realized more often game 1, I hand trap my opponent down to the point I don't even know if they have Fire Kings or not. Like, because the room, after I walk around, after I play a few rounds, I realized the Fire King number is not as much, maybe even less than what the pure number left. So very often I played a very like pure heavy game 1 to the point either they just didn't draw their Fire King, or I hand trapped them to the point they didn't even access to the Fire King, to the point where I'm sending for game 2 going second. I don't even know if I need to should siding Soul Release or not. And siding Soul Release against pure is like very ineffective. There are definitely better cards I could play. So that's become probably my biggest regret in my side, that I oversight. That's a big oversight I didn't realize until the tournament. And I think there are a lot of games where game 1 I just played a pure mirror, and I was siding, was like, you know what, I'm only putting 1 just in case, or just didn't even put any. Game 2 I either draw Soul Release, didn't see any Fire King, or I only put in 1 Soul Release and saw my opponent suddenly start playing Fire King. So yeah, this is probably not the best card. I didn't even know what it would be, since the format just lasted for that 1 weekend. Now we have Legacy League format's completely different again. So yeah, this is my whole Raleigh deck. Well, now let me complain about YCS Raleigh in general as an event. This event is horrible. Combined with not only the ban list, which I've mentioned multiple times, and also some uncontrollable fact that usually, for myself, I get allergic, probably due to pollen, during like May in where I live, northeast areas. So Raleigh, it's like, or an event in April, mid-April, should be fine, right? I forgot the fact I was heading south. So yeah, I was allergic the entire weekend and was just suffering from allergy. Feel like dying. So yeah, my physical condition was also not in the right condition. Well, that's a little bit beyond my control. And then the event itself, if you were at Raleigh, at least in the main event section in the center, you will realize, yes, there were not that many clocks around. Time is not very accessible to see in every angle. I remember there's only 1 screen at the front stage, which is that means the center. And then there's another one in the very far corner next to the vending tables, and those 2 were the only screen for time in the entire YCS main event. And me, who is sitting in the other completely different side of the corner in the VIP section. Oh, we had a screen. That screen broke. That thing didn't connect. So we had no timer around us in the VIP section. It's probably a bit technical difficulty beyond Konami's control, but it's still annoying when it happens. I saw judges had to walk around with a timer on their iPad just to and yell at time whenever needed. But truthfully, yes, whenever I was about to be in time, whenever time was needed for me, they were not there for me. So yeah, that's why I said it. A-Gave in my side became a blank card because I had way less control on time. Actually, one of my losses was just specifically because I couldn't see timer. So I didn't know when to scoop, so I scooped at the time where I thought it would be enough. Turned out it wasn't. If I scoop a bit earlier, then we were able to play game 3 normally without the timer. Or if I scoop a little bit later, I will most likely be able to just win by time game 3 with the time cards. However, because it's not under my control, I couldn't see how much time left. I scooped probably one of the worst timing, and we grinded out to just enough for my opponent to start his turn. And apparently he's playing a volcanic, so yeah, we know how that ended in time. So yeah, there's a lot of things went wrong for this YCS Raleigh event, and it's just unfortunate. Format is also an imaginary format, not even real. Like now, Legacy release, everything kind of reset a bit. So let me just forget about this event. I tried my best, but that's the most I can do. And I went to a case tournament in my local area the weekend after, which is, I guess, by the time we're recording, like 2 days ago. So, format now is completely different. We have Tempai released in the format. We have Voiceless getting another new continuous spell. I heard there are other regionals happening in the first weekend where there are even other Bell version of different decks topped, but haven't looked too much into it. And there's also the Melodious cards that I saw some video about and haven't looked too much into it. So week 1, or almost week 0 at this point, I brought my Snake Eye deck. Didn't really change much into a case tournament in my local. We had about, I think, slightly under 40 people for this case tournament, so it was a pretty decent turnout. 6 rounds into top 8. I eventually won the case tournament, but it was more so still just a local. So I'm more interested to talk about like some changes I went through during preparation to the case tournament. With Legacy of Destruction, one of the new card is Snake Eye Diabellstar. This is a card I was trying my best to include in my deck. So if you're not aware, this card reads, when attack involved with this card, you can pretty much bench itself and whatever it's attacking will be attacked with. And then if this card is treated as a continuous spell, it can special summon itself and bench another one from the graveyard. That's pretty much the whole idea. It has some unique traits. It's the first and the only spellcaster Snake Eye, which means Ash now can access to a very reliable Saling target while comboing. And on the other part, this is the second copy of Diabellstar Monster, which means Wanted now can grab a completely different thing. Arguably a very good cost if you draw the original Diabellstar, the Black Witch Diabell. So you can just pitch the Snake Eye Diabell. Since the Snake Eye Diabell prefer to be sent to graveyard first and then use Popular to bench it later to treat it like a pseudo extender. Okay. There are other combos where in theory, Divine Temple can just now bench this and become like an instant extender here to the board. So here, these are some of the ideas. I tested this. Didn't like it. See, the standard combo, like the standard, Ash, Pop, Field, Bench Oak, Ash Oak into Flamebird, and Link into IP, that kind of standard line is already playing around everything nearly perfectly at its maximum potential. So if I don't bench Oak but bench Diabel, no matter how I tried it, seems like it started getting more vulnerable to Nibiru. Since either Snake Eye Diabel cannot summon itself, or cannot be benched back from the graveyard when needed, or when it is in the back row, what I want to bench it, which most likely be Flamebird Dragon, cannot be sent to graveyard within the 5 summons. And if it does send to graveyard after 5, then Nibiru can probably come before I'm able to bench the Flamebird. Thus, I will be in a situation where I get nibbed and my only back row Snake Eye is Snake Eye Diabel, which it can already naturally summon itself to the point it kind of losing its ability to play around nib. So at the end, I tried to throw in my deck, tried a lot of different combo lines, and they all feel a bit worse in different way. I feel this is just not gonna be an option to be played until hypothetically we have Flamebird limited. Cool, now this can become like a pseudo second copy of Flamebird and be tossing to the deck, and then you can do some cool things with Wanted, pitch a better cost for Diabel to pitch, but that's about it. Also, it's really a hard brick if raw drawing it, because if there's no other way to send to graveyard. So this essentially is in the similar category as Flamebird Dragon in the whole deck. That's also why I said until we see Flamebird get limited, I don't see any good value playing this. Obviously, this is still at the very beginning of we getting card first week. There might be more combo lines coming in the future that I don't know at the moment. So if anyone knows, feel free to show me and prove me wrong. I'll be gladly taking it. But at the current moment, I decide not to play this, which means my main deck are just going back to the same thing. I also just cut a draw and add a crossout back because there isn't that many Fire King existing, and so there's no need for the third copy of draw. Every other hand trap are just in their perfect ratio against like the general meta. Yes, there's Tenpai, but I decided to add the Tenpai answers into my side deck more instead of the main deck. Main deck wise, they still losing to a good amount of hand traps, or some of the hand traps in different kind of over opening hand. So I think the main deck is still just fun. Extra is also just the same. Nothing need to be changed. I did talk about like Dark being less accessible and other thing, but not like I know what else to replace Dark with. Seems like at the moment I don't have a 16 extra deck I want to play. Maybe a second Hida can come up, but cutting Dark for a second Hida feels like a little bit wrong. So the extra deck is also the same. The side deck wise, this is where my Tenpai inserts are. Bell and Ogre. Bell is actually surprisingly more useful against Tenpai than I expected, at least compared to the less useful things like Nib, like Valor. Since they have immunity in main phase 1, but whenever they try to extend in battle phase, Bell can just cut like one, if not more than one monsters. And those, like, having less monsters for their synchro plays actually may hurt them a bit. So Bell, in my opinion, is a solid. It's also just good coverage. Now Bell just usable against nearly all the decks in the format. Mirror Match, obviously, and then Voiceless, obviously, and so it's Tenpai, right? And Ogre, on the other hand, is what OCG people tried at the very beginning of their Legacy format. It's a solid hand trap. It actually even has niche against like non-Tenpai decks. In Mirror, Nib plus Ogre Nib plus Ogre is a combo where I nib the whole board and the Ogre either their Appaloosa that's negating nib, or I Ogre their field spell that they're trying to recover after being nibbed. Why was Ogre not playing earlier? Because Ogre in this definition more so is a ball breaker. But then there's just more ball breaker existing in the game that kind of serves the purpose better than Ogre. However, now there are things that Ogre being used that specifically works more like a hand trap now. Things like Tenpai's field spell, voiceless, their back row, their spell and trap. So suddenly Ogre's been performing pretty well for me, and it actually hit a very crucial IP during this case tournament for me, and I like it at the moment. More hand traps definitely fitting the idea of just a lot of hand traps in my main. So yeah, these are feeling good at the moment. Funny, I'm gonna skip this one a bit. Lord, same reason for stun. Talents for like going first, or just more so across a target in case people are playing the ball breaking version. And then same thing with Duster and then Featherstorm, like I mentioned earlier. And obviously Fucho now it not only has the Featherstorm target purpose, it's also just naturally a good thing to have against Tenpai. But now we bring up to a very interesting question. Which rank 1 is the better target to play in the extra deck between Fucho or Assembled? So, in case you're not aware how Tenpai decks being built, a lot of the OCG Tenpais are just maxing hand traps as many as you can, usually landed around like almost 20, maybe even more of them, and then slotted with some other ball breaker cards, like good ball breaker cards, things like Droplet, occasionally Santa Claus even, and so on and so forth. Maybe sometimes you even see Raigeki, Lightning Storm, those kind of things. So Assemble and Fucho both have some weakness against Tenpai's non-engine card. Assemble is losing to Droplet, and I guess Nibiru a little bit. But if they don't have Droplet, doesn't matter what else. As long as Assemble resolved, you take no battle damage for the rest of the turn, you're guaranteed safe. This is the beauty of Assemble. You're just able to make sure, as long as it's resolving, you're fine. Fucho, on the other hand, only preventing damage involving Fucho itself. So even if Fucho has resolved, despite it's unaffected by your other cards effect, it can be Kaiju kind of thing, like Kaiju or Santa Claus, which I think Santa Claus specifically was being played by Tenpai. And Tenpai, in OCG don't have one pop, but TCG there are 3 prosperity. So the odds of them, if they want, digging for a Santa Claus to out this Fucho is there. It just, are people playing Santa at the moment? From the week 1, looking at a lot of the lists, the answer is actually no. A lot of Tenpais were more using their just big spells, or just lots of hand traps. Specific board breaking things like Santa isn't, at least not in the main deck. Very rarely in their side deck. However, nearly every single Tenpai list are maining 3 Droplet, 3 Nibiru. So yeah, I guess that alone is enough to summarize the difference between Fucho and Assembled. I think Fucho at the moment is fitting the format a bit better, but obviously format can change. If things change, if the Tenpais change their strategy, maybe I'll swap tonight and Assembled at some point. Who knows? And there's also like another interesting thing where this. So if hypothetically I'm playing Assembled and ended on my board plus Assemble, right? Do I shotgun this Assemble? If I don't, they enter the main phase. Now Assemble is also kind of losing to Santa Claus, because that's just the first summon they do. But if I do shotgun it, not only I'm not losing now, losing to Droplet, I also added Imperm into its weakness to this ending board. Because if I shotgun, they usually have nothing. So yeah, Assemble has this awkwardness. And here, at this point, I was like, yeah, Fucho is better. Fucho is also working a little bit better against specifically Nib. When I'm setting up Harvey's Featherstorm board against like other decks. So that's the rank 1 I choose at the end. Then going back to what I skipped, Fernier. Truthfully speaking, I tossing the Fernier just because my losses at Raleigh were pretty much just me bricking with hand traps. I guess I skipped this a little bit. I drew Flamebird plus 5 hand trap, 4 games. That resulted 2 match. I drew... Well, actually, no. I won one of that match because one of that was me normal summoning Bell, like I mentioned, into Elmirage, into Hida, crashed and played. But I lost that match, game 3, due to time. So that was... So was that. And another game, I drew triple parallel exceed game 3. Yep, could not play in any form, any different ways. So that... Like, those were my losses. Essentially means what I choose at Raleigh probably just didn't matter. Because I was losing to being unlucky, not really being, like, played wrong. And then, because I have this, like, PTSD of bricking, I tossed into Fernier just to increase, to make myself feel more safe going first, having more, at least some monster to summon. Like, Fernier plus Hand Trap Beatdown is a viable strategy. And, or truthfully speaking, I just, at the current moment, for my split too early, I don't even know what I needed in my side. So, well, time to throw in the Fernier when I don't know. And that's the card here. So yeah, this is the entire deck at the moment. This is probably at the current moment what I will be keep playing with. But obviously, I've been learning, practicing other newer decks like Tenpai, or specifically Tenpai, and a few others. So yeah, next stops will be a lot of regionals in May. I have Hartford Regional coming in this incoming weekend, and I think a weekend of break. And then I might start flying to some regionals due to war points and so on. And yeah, so hope to see everyone again with more regional reports. That being said, hope you learned something in this episode. YCS Raleigh is already gone, so let's forget about it. And that being said, I will see everyone in the next episode. See ya.